Hey everyone, welcome to Thursday, I believe it is, if I've got my calendar correctly. Hope everyone's doing great. I want to talk to you about black furred pets. And I want to talk to you because most of us all know that would be tuning in listening to me today, that whether they're black, brown, white, spotted, have pinto markings, stripes, tabby swirls, whatever, they're all equally lovable and playful, and they are truly our bestest friends. And I know most of you that listen don't judge an animal by its fur color or anything else, but it's just one of those things in our society today that sometimes we even say things without realizing because they're ingrained in our head. We've heard them from people before us. And not only is it hurting our animal best friends, but it trickles down to other species and other aspects of our life. They're the strangest things that you may hear. Western cultures have always considered black cats to be bad luck, that they carry disease, and they also associate them with witches and witchcraft. What actually some of this came about was that, a lot of what we refer to as the little older ladies that are the cat ladies, would have a lot of cats around, and many of them would be black. And unfortunately, the people were banned or banished, or worse, even just because they had black cats around them. In ancient Egypt, there was actually a god or goddess, Bastet, and Bast was the daughter of Ra, the sun god, and she was the protectress, the defender of the pharaohs, and she was depicted as a black cat. So some cultures don't see black cats that way. Anubis was a black dog in ancient Egypt. Some say it was really based more on a jackal, some on a wolf, but it looks like a dog. And he was the god of afterlife, of lost souls, and of people who were helpless. And that just seems so fitting for our canine pals. So, in ancient Egypt, black cats and dogs were deified. They were made to be gods and goddesses, and they were actually mummified. Some of the myths and legends that are still perpetuated is that if a black cat walks towards you, he or she is bringing good fortune your way. But if the cat is walking away, if you're seeing the little booty end of the cat, that cat is actually taking away your good luck. There's a myth that says if you're driving and a black cat crosses your path, you need to immediately put your hat on backwards and put an X on the windshield in order to prevent bad luck from happening. I mean, who makes up this stuff? What if you're not wearing a hat? What if you don't have a magic marker or lipstick or something to make the X on the windshield? Are you just really screwed? Black cats, if you dream of them, that's considered lucky. So sometimes if you see them in person, they're not so much luck, but if you dream of them, they're lucky. We probably all have heard of if a black cat comes to lay, and sometimes this translates just to cats in general, but if a black cat comes to lay with a person, they're going to pass away. And there was a story about Oscar. Oscar was a cat in Rhode Island, and I think this started about 10 years ago, but over his time, he hung out at a nursing home, and he would come and lay with the residents, and generally within 24 hours, those people would pass. But it wasn't that he was causing them to pass away. Cats just are very intuitive, and we know this even with our dogs, that their sense of smell is highly keen, and they can pick up on changes in body temperature and body odors that are sometimes brought about by disease and other chemical imbalances. So it's actually kind of cool that this cat was able to do this and provided many family members the opportunity to come and spend those last moments with the person who was about to pass. But what I just want to talk about today are that black cats are amazing. If you look at my written blog, you'll see some photos on there. of them. And black dogs are equally amazing, and sometimes because of their black cat counterparts, they too are subjected to these stereotypes about black furred pets. You can imagine my surprise many years ago when I started writing for an animal publication. One of the rules they told me is, do not send in pictures of black dogs. Well, at the time, I had the gentlest soul I've ever known, Mr. Rico, my black lab, and I was just highly offended by that. But they went on to say that you can just never capture their essence in a photograph, and their features are hard to see. Well, I'm thrilled to say that a lot of the animal shelters out there are doing something about that. And that is one of the reasons black dogs and black cats often do end up at shelters for longer periods of time than others. Now, I know some people say black dog syndrome doesn't exist, but I've volunteered in shelters and I have seen it. Granted, there are probably more black dogs than any other color of pets, specifically because the Labrador Retriever has been the most popular dog in the U.S. for, gosh, I think it's well over 2 decades now, and there are more black labs than there are even the yellow and the chocolate. But lighting is an issue, and it's not an insurmountable one, but these days very often people will look at pets online before they even come to a shelter. And if a good picture isn't posted, sometimes that animal doesn't even get a second look. So it's wonderful when shelters have at their disposal a volunteer who's a photographer or a team that can really take excellent pictures. A lot of them out there are doing that, and I really encourage you that if you aren't in your rescue or a shelter, to really check into that, to put some resources towards that, and make those pictures really memorable and eye-catching. Because a black dog or a cat in the back of his run or the back of his cage may be harder to see. The human eye just goes for light. So we're more apt to see the light-colored pet or the spotted pet, whereas the dark one, especially if it's a shy pet that's hanging out in the back of his run or cage, may just get walked right by. A lot of shelters are doing really good stuff with this, and I have to throw out kudos to my old homestead, the volunteers of the Burbank Animal Shelter. Over the years, they have just really taken the time to cultivate a volunteer team of photographers. They set up the lighting. They get all kinds of props together that they just pick up at, you know, thrift stores, or somebody donates, or they go through the donations and find something that is really adorable. And they've really gotten some eye-catching pictures. Other things that can be done too are getting some grooming done that really helps, you know, attract attention and gets a pet more adopted. But going back more specifically to the black furred, besides the lighting issue, sometimes it truly is stereotypes. Look at the movies, especially if you look at the old westerns of the 50s, the 60s, maybe even some of the campy ones of the 70s. But what did the good cowboy always has the white hat, and the bad one has the black hat. This translates to our pets too. When they want a mean, ferocious dog, they generally put the really dark-furred Rottweiler or Doberman or German Shepherd out there. And we all know these breeds can be absolute love bugs. So I just want to be so careful that when, to ask everybody to be so careful that when you're talking about animals, you just don't ever judge them by, you know, don't judge them by their cover, by their fur coat. It doesn't matter what shade they come in, what's inside, that's where you find the treasure. So do your best not to perpetuate stereotypes of any kind, of course, but know that black furred pets are truly amazing and can make some awesome possum best friends. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please read the blog, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Go hug that pet no matter what fur color he has.